Hey guys, today we're going to learn how to multiply radicals. I know that the copies that you have may not be the greatest, so you may need to rewrite some of the problems on there or draw in a line here or there. Question box will go on the back. We're going to start by some notes here at the top. We can multiply radicals if they have the same index. We should also know that is called a root. And by that, I mean if you have two square roots, you can multiply them. If you have two cubed roots, you can multiply them. If you have a square root and a cubed root, you cannot multiply them. So the index or root must be the same. Here are the steps that you will follow when you multiply radicals. Multiply the numbers outside the radicals. Those are your scalars or your coefficients. You are going to multiply the numbers under the radicals or break them up as factors. And the last thing that you are going to do, very important, is simplify. Now, one rule of thumb here for this first example, the square root of 3 times the square root of 3, when the radicands are exactly the same, the answer is the radicand with no radical. And here's why. The square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is the square root of 9, and the square root of 9 is 3. I'm going to show you here in the next example 2 square roots of 12 times 4 square roots of 15, how to do step 2 with the break up the factors. So you might want to draw a little arrow here because we're going to break these up. I'm going to show you how that's much, much simpler than multiplying 12 and 15 and having to break down a large number. So we're going to say 2 times the square root of 4 times the square root of 3 times 4 times the square root of 3 times the square root of 5. Now, 3 and 5, not perfect squares. However, we broke down 15 as 3 and 5 because we already have a 3. And as we know from the first example, the square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is just 3. So we have 2 times the square root of 4 is 2 times 3 times 4 times the square root of 5. And we have 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 times 12 is 48 square roots of 5. That is how you break up factors in order to make it a simpler problem. In problem number 3, you are going to use the distributive property to multiply, and then you are going to use your simplifying radicals properties to simplify to get your final answer. So the square root of 3 times 3 is 3 square roots of 3, plus the square root of 3 times the square root of 6 is the square root of 18. So 3 square roots of 3 plus the square root of 9 times the square root of 2 is 3 square roots of 3 plus 3 square roots of 2. And as we know, those radicands are different, so we cannot combine those terms. They are not like terms. In our last example here, we are going to use the FOIL method, first, outer, inner, last. So 3 times 3 is 9, minus 3 times 4 is 12 square roots of 3, plus the square root of 3 times 3 is 3 square roots of 3. Notice how I'm lining up my like terms. And the square root of 3 minus 4 square roots of 3 is negative 4 square roots of 9. And we should know that the square root of 9 is 3, and negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. So I'm doing some lining up here so that it's very simple to find my answer, negative 3 minus 9 square roots of 3. Again, no like terms there. So that is your answer. There are two additional problems that I would like for you to add to your notes. So if you would like to just turn this over to the back. These are additional notes with variables. This is problem number 5, the square root of 5x times the square root of 6x cubed. Multiply your numbers and your variables. Remember, when you multiply variables, add the exponents. This is the square root of 30x to the 4th. 30 cannot be broken down, but the square root of x to the 4th is x squared. So your answer is x squared, square root of 30. And the last example, number 6, we're going to do another distributive property, the square root of 2x times the square root of 14 plus the square root of 6x, distribute the square root of 28x plus the square root of 12x squared is the square root of 4 times the square root of 7 plus, that's a plus, the square root of 4 times the square root of 3 times the square root of x squared is 2 square roots of 7 plus 2x square roots of 3. The radicands are different. That should be an x there, so we'll put that in. The radicands are different, so here is your answer. Once again, don't forget your questions box. Put in there any questions that you have. And I hope you all have a great afternoon.